Hello, baseball fans and sports fans alike out there. It's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke. Today I'm going to bring you a game in Strat-O-Matic Baseball Max using two crappy teams from the past. The 2002 Detroit Tigers will take on the 1962 Mets. And we will look at the lineups, and we will even look at the ratings of the players. Something which is unique to Baseball Max that you don't get on Strat-O-Matic cards. So as you can see, here's the Detroit lineup. And the Detroit lineup will be facing Jay Hook today. And I think we can look at Jay Hook right here. So if we look at Jay Hook, we can see that he is a 68 star rating. I'm assuming that this is out of a 100. And he is a 68. So this is what his card looks like. And that's what the Detroit Tigers will be dealing with. Now we'll go down the Detroit lineup. Their leadoff hitter is going to be George Lombard. And if we look at his card, we can see that he is a 59. Again, a 59 out of, I believe, 100. The next batter is Shane Halter, and Shane Halter is a 65 out of 100. And again, if you want to look at any of these players for an extended period of time, you can just halt the video. This is Randall Simon, will be the first baseman. He's a 72. He's actually pretty good. We'll see how he can fare against Jay Hook. Robert Fick will be the cleanup hitter. Robert Fick is a 70. And this is what his card will look like. Next, you got Bobby Higginson. Bobby Higginson is a 72. And that's what his card's going to look like. And then you got Dimitri Young. Who could forget Dimitri Young? He's a 63. He was actually pretty decent. And he's the DH today. And then you got Damian Easley. Damian Easley. Look at his card. He's a 64 in Baseball Max. And he will be playing second base. Playing catcher is Brandon Ing, or Inge. I don't remember how it's pronounced. But he is a 62. You can see not very good. And that brings us to Chris Truby. Chris Truby is a 57 rated player in the game. And that is his card. So you can see not too many. I mean, there was only a couple of guys that were in the 70s for Detroit. And we will go on to the next screen. And we will look at Mike Maroth, the pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. He is a 71, and I picked him because he is probably the most famous pitcher. Famous is in air quotes. The most famous pitcher from that staff and that team. And you can see that this is what the Mets lineup will be dealing with. And speaking of the Mets lineup, you got Richie Ashburn leading off. Now, he is a 74 rated, and you can see he can get on base. I mean, this dude can work his way on base. So he might present a problem for Mr. Maroth. Then you've got Elio Chacon, and he is a 64 rated player. And he's batting second and playing shortstop. Batting third, you got Frank Thomas. He's 82 rated player. So he's pretty good. And you can see he's got a decent card. So they do have a higher rated player. The Mets were worse. They were a worse team in their season, but they have a higher rated. They have the highest rated player between both teams. Batting in the cleanup spot and playing first base is Marvelous Marv Throneberry, and he's a 65. And that's his card. Then you've got Jim Hickman. Jim Hickman is a 72 rated player. Not too bad. So the Mets have some guys that are rated a little higher than some of the Detroit Tigers. Like this is their second 70 guy. I think Detroit only had two. And that's Charlie Neal. And this is his card. Then you got Felix Mantilla. He is a 69 rated player. And that's the card that's going to be going up against Maroth for him. Then you got Coleman is the catcher, batting in the 8th spot. Choo-Choo Coleman. He is a 60 rated player. And you got Rod Cannell. He's going to be picking up the rear for this lineup, and he is a 61 rated player. So that is those are the matchups. So let's get into the game. I think we are all ready to go here. Jay Hook against Mike Maroth. And the umpire says play ball, and we will roll the dice. So let me, there we go. Oh, let's, how do we do this? Oh, yeah, swing away. There we go. So George Lombard, it's been a while since I played the game, so bear with me. That's a strikeout. Jay Hook strikes out the first Detroit Tiger batter, and you've got Shane Halter coming up. And that's going to be a ground ball back to Jay Hook. He makes the play. And Randall Simon is the batter. And he is going to get a ground ball back to Jay Hook. So Jay Hook busy in this first inning. He gets the side retired. And now we have the Mets coming up against Mike Maroth. And, of course, you've got that Richie Ashburn card against Maroth. And he is going to come up with possibly a double. The odds favored it, and that's what happened. So he is aboard with a double. And that brings up Elio Chacon. Now, I, should bunt, but first of all, I don't really know how to bunt, although I probably could figure it out. Oh, wait, I'm not batting, so we won't do that. We're going to go back to this. Yeah, so he's making the decision. That's going to be a ground ball C, so that's going to move the batter or the base runner over to third. The Mets have a man at third with Frank Thomas up. Not what you would normally like to see. And that's going to be a ground ball to the third baseman. And the run shouldn't score on that. And it doesn't. It doesn't appear that it does. So there are two down with a man at third. And Marvelous Marv Throneberry is up. So apparently I am controlling Detroit, which is fine. And that is a strikeout. So Detroit comes to the bat in the top of the second with the score tied at 0. And Robert Fick is the batter. I remember Robert Fick. I do remember that guy. And that's going to be a walk. He's aboard. He's issued a free pass by Jay Hook. And he is aboard, but, nobody on this team had any kind of talent. So we're not going to try to steal with Robert Fick. Lord, no, we aren't going to do that. So Bobby Higginson is the batter. I'll just swing away with Bobby Higginson. And that's going to be a slight chance for a single, but probably not going to happen if I had to bet. And it is a line out to the first baseman. There is one out with a man aboard. And you've got Dimitri Young up. And I do remember Dimitri Young, too. He was actually a pretty good player. That's going to be a ballpark homer, and it's a 1-19, so I like the chances, and it is gone. So we jump on top. Detroit jumps on top of the Mets 2-0 with Damian Easley up. Again, another pretty good player in his own right. And he's going to ground out to the third baseman. So there's 2 down. And for the record, by the way, the Detroit Tigers, I believe, won 54 games in 2002, which is the year that we're using here. And the Mets, of course, famously won, I think, 40 games. So that is going to be an out, and New York is coming up. And we will pitch to Jim Hickman. And, yeah, now the dice are rolling. It's a 2-5. That's going to be a single for Jimmy Hickman. So he's aboard. Maroth is going to deal to Charlie Neal. He's going to deal to Charlie Neal. And that's going to be a strikeout. So there is one man down with one man aboard at first for the Mets. And they have Felix Mantilla up. And that is going to be a walk. Maroth issues a walk. He's got 2 men on now with only 1 away. And Choo-Choo Coleman is up. And I don't know if I've told this story before. He grounds out shortstop X, and it is a ground out. But the runners move up to second and third. He was asked by Ralph Kiner, who was a Mets announcer, or a Mets whatever, studio guy or announcer. He was asked what his wife's name is and what does she like. And he said, her name is Mrs. Coleman and she likes me, which I thought was an inventive answer, although he probably seriously was answering it and thought that's what he was asking. Rod Cannell is the batter with 2 down and runners at second and third, and Maroth dealing. And he is dealing. He gets a fly ball to right, and the Mets get nothing in the second. We go to the top of the third. Chris Truby is the batter. Now, I remember the name. I don't really remember Chris Truby. I couldn't tell you if he was a good player or not. My guess would be no. That brings up George Lombard with 1 away. And that's going to be a fly to center. So there are 2 down quickly for Shane Halter, who will be the batter. And I got to get my water out here. And that is a possible gone home run, but no, it's a double. We are going to say no on the extra base, although really with things the way they are for these teams, you probably should be, but if that had been to score, I might have said yes, but it wasn't, so I didn't. Randall Simon is the batter. And what happened there? I guess that was a walk. So Robert Fick is up with 2 down and 2 runners aboard. I missed that when I was taking a drink. And this is a possible home run. Ballpark shot, and it will probably be, and it is. And so now Detroit has a commanding lead in this game. They probably wish that the American League of 2002 was full of 62 Mets teams. Bobby Higginson is the batter. See, again, I do a lot of talking and my voice starts to go. That's a single with Dimitri Young following. behind him. And we'll see what he can do. He can ground out, and that'll be it. But it's 5-0 after 3 innings. Did I say that Detroit had a 2-run home run back in the third? Because it was a 3-run homer. Richie Ashburn, Mr. On Base. And he is going to get a 6-7. I think that's probably what he got last time, too. He grounds out. There's one down, and Elio Chacon is up. Gets a 1-3, and he'll ground out, which brings up Frank Thomas, Big Frank Thomas. Not the one that played for the White Sox, although this guy was a good player. And he flies out to center. So the Mets come away with nothing again. And now we're back at bat with Damian Easley facing the Hookmaster. That's a possible single. We'll see. And it is. It's a single. He's aboard. Hook does not need that. Brandon Ing. He's swinging away, and he's going to get a walk. First 2 guys are on. There's no out. Chris Truby, the batter. Okay, now I might try, I think maybe bunt is down here somewhere. Yeah, or it's up here. We're going to try a bunt. And it's 81%, so we will live with that for sure. Well done, sacrifice bunt. So runners are now at second and third with only 1 out. And Lombard up. And that'll be a 2-7. He strikes out. And this is why I'm not a fan of the sacrifice bunt. Because you do that with nobody out. The next guy, or the next, somebody has to, it's you just take an out away, and then if the next guy gets out and he doesn't advance the runners, that third guy has to get a base hit anyway. So with that, we're going to go swing away with Shane Halter. And he gets a 2-11, which is a possible single. And it is open triangle. Not sure what that means, but I'm going to send the runner because, again, there's 2 out. And this is Detroit. I think he had a 50% chance. Easley scores and Ing scores. And so the route is on right now. And you got Randall Simon up. So Randall Simon's batting, and they bring in a new pitcher. Finally, the Mets bring in a new pitcher, and it's Bob Moorhead. And so Randall Simon will be facing him. And he grounds out, and that is the 3rd out. But it is 7-0 Detroit, and we're only in the bottom of the 4th. With marvelous Marv Throneberry batting against Maroth. I think Maroth has easy sailing now, you would have to say. That's going to be a ground out to the shortstop. Jim Hickman, the batter. He gets a 112. That's going to be a possible home run and a probable home run. Let's just put it that way. And it is gone. So the Mets are on the board, but they're still down by 6. Charlie Neal is the batter. And he is going to get a 5-12, which is a ground ball to third base. Let's see if that's played. It isn't. So there's a runner aboard with 1 out. And Felix Mantilla up. So the Mets look like they're trying to mount something here. Ground ball to second base, but that is an out. It advances the runner, and Choo-Choo Coleman is the batter with 2 down here in the 4th. The Mets with only 1 run across, But that could be a run-scoring single. Oh, no, it's a pop-out. I guess that was the, what do they call it? The clutch. That was the clutch, and so instead of being a hit, it was an out. As we go to the top of the fifth, and we will swing away with Robert Fick. And that is a fly to center. And Bobby Higginson is up. One down. And that's going to be a line out to shortstop. So there's two down quickly for Bob Moorhead. And Dimitri Young is up, and he is going to fly out. So the Mets go very quickly in the fifth, but they still have a 6-run lead going to the bottom of the fifth. And Rod Cannell is the batter. And that's a fly to center. Let's see if they make the play. They don't. It's an error. It's a 2-base error on the center fielder. So there's a man aboard with Richie Ashburn up. And they're rolling the dice. That's going to be a single. And that scores a run. Elliot Chacon is up. The Mets trying to mount a comeback here with Elio Chacon up. No outs and a man at first. And you know what? It might just be happening because there's a single right there. Hope you didn't leave the telecast because that might be something. There's 2 men on. There's nobody out. And Frank Thomas, their probably best hitter, is going to get a ballpark single, but that's only 1-5. Don't like his odds there, and it doesn't work out for him. So instead he flies out, but that's only 1 out, and the marvelous one, Marv Throneberry, is up. And it looks like he's striking out. So the Mets, just in the face of a clutch situation, they just fall apart here. And Jim Hickman, the batter. And that's going to be a strikeout. So they went harmlessly away after they got 2 men on with no one out to start the inning. Damian Easley in the top of the 6th with Detroit ahead by 5 runs. And he's going to pop out to first base. Pop out! And Bob Moorhead doing some heavy lifting here for the Mets, trying to keep the Tigers scoreless while his team tries to come back. That's a fly out to center field, and it brings up Chris Truby with 2 away. And that is going to be a ground to second base, and it is an out. So the Mets go harmlessly in the... or wait a minute. We go harmlessly in the 6th, and Charlie Neal is up. Maroth just might go the distance, even though that isn't something he was ever really known for. And that's a ground bout, so there's 1 away, nobody on. Felix Mantilla. And that'll be a ground ball, third base, and he's out. And the Choo-Choo Coleman. Gets a 1-9, and that's a strikeout. So the Mets go harmlessly in the 6th. We go to the top of the 7th with George Lombard batting. Against the Moorhead, he's still out there. He's still giving it his all. That's a possible double, though, right there. But it's only a single. So he lucks out. Just a single for Lombard, which brings up Shane Halter. And Halter is going to get a ground ball into a double play. So 2 out quickly now. And Randall Simon, the batter. That's a single, though. He's aboard. 2 out, man at first. Robert Fick. And he's going to fly out. Bob Moorhead has been doing yeoman's work here, keeping the Tigers down as we go to the bottom of the 7th. And Rod Cannell is up. And that is going to be a possible catcher, but it's a ground out. Catcher, possible error on the catcher, but it didn't work out that way. Richie Ashburn, Mr. Walk, although he hasn't been on his card, and he still isn't. Left field X, that's a fly out. So there's 2 away, and Chacon is the batter. Bottom of the 7th here. It's getting late for the Mets. And that is a strikeout. So we're going to the top of the 8th. Higginson is the batter. And that's going to be a ground to second, and it is an out. And Moorhead is still dealing out there. Single 1-3. Not good odds for the single. And he does get the out. He gets the line out on that, and there are 2 away with Damian Easley up. And that is going to be a ground ball to third. Now I will bring in relief. Maroth is walking out there thinking he's going to pitch, but he is not. I am going to bring in a reliever, and I got to remember how to do this now. I think I click on Maroth. No. Oh, I click on this to replace Maroth. And then you've got to click on the pitcher himself. So we'll click on Farnsworth. No, you don't do that. You click on his line. You have to click on his stats. And then say replace, and it does. And Jeff Farnsworth is out there to pitch. And he will be dealing to Frank Thomas. They roll the dice. And that is going to be a possible home run. But it isn't. It's a fly out. It's a fly to right. They needed it, and they didn't come through with it. Marvelous Marv Throneberry. He'll get a 111, which is going to be a ground to the pitcher. So Farnsworth makes the play. And Jim Hickman is up. And that's going to be a ground ball to third. So Farnsworth comes in and he gets the Mets 1-2-3. Going to the top of the 9th. Bob Moorhead's still out there. That dude is really logging some time. And why not? I mean, he's holding them down. But this is a possible ballpark homer, which is really going to be a home run. And that is a home run for Brandon Ing. I guess he had the power to hit a home run. Chris Struby is up. That is going to be a single 1-7 possibility. And it is. So now Moorhead's falling apart, but that's not surprising. He's been out there toiling away in the hot sun for like 4 or 5 innings. That's going to be a ground ball double play, though. Much to his... he's loving it. And the batter is Shane Halter. So we came up... the Detroit Tigers came up with a run here in the 9th. That's a ground out. So now New York needs 6 runs to tie the game. Charlie Neal batting. He's going to fly out to center. And Felix Mantilla. You know, I think on most days, this Tiger team, with this particular performance, could have beaten any even real good teams. There's 2 down quickly, though, and it's good because my voice is about to go. But not before we get a possible single. But it hits a line out, and that ends the game. So we will look at the box score. As you can see, Detroit won. There's the box score for the batters. And there's the box score for the pitching. Moorhead went 5 1/3. That guy gave his blood, sweat, and tears for this one. And that is going to be it for me. Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke, signing off.